Greetings, everybody. This is Woodskimp here, and normally I don't make videos like this, but I had to feel like I had to get off my chest and look at things a more critical, analytical way instead of the overabundant and pretty disappointing amount of videos I've seen on YouTube with these doom and gloom and harsh critical videos about like how quote unquote 343 ruined Halo or how Halo is dead or it's gone down five. We're not looking to do that. We're looking to. I'm making this video to make it an upbeat, lifting, positive vibe. Nobody is the enemy. We're all in this together. I want to share my thoughts. I want to put together a sort of presentation for you guys and give you where I'm standing from because I feel like this insanity that I see on the internet has really divided everybody since I guess like 2012 or even with the release of Halo 4 and all that. And I just wanted to just summarize a general look on how Halo has grown since 2010. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm not looking to hate on anybody. I just have a resentment against people on YouTube who make videos negatively or disingenuously making talking about like Halo or how things are in a doom and gloom way. No, I'm just here to bring a fresh, optimistic looking view general on how Halo has grown. I'm not saying that 343 is the best company or anything because we got to admit this is the modern gaming industry. A lot of companies in this time are struggling to meet the standards of what was like video games 10 years ago. So anyway, yeah, let's look at the how Halo has grown since 2010. And the first thing I want to get to notice um, is just like overall like the main gists of the games like Halo 4, 5, Wars 2, MCC and Infinite, and I just want to kind of like look at like what was improved on and what was changed since Bungie left with Halo leaving in Microsoft's hands in 2010 and they went off and made Destiny. So the first thing I want to talk about is the graphics and the fidelity. I think Halo today is still one of those games that leaves you all uninspired, no matter if it's from the original trilogy or if it's from the new trilogy, is whatever, the Reclaimer. There are still some sights and sceneries here and there that like absolutely stunning and amazing, especially with like Halo 5, like its lighting and everything, and like Halo like Wars 2 and the cutscenes by Blur Studios. I think Blur did like a really good job, or unless it was like another company, I can't remember. But yeah, practically the presentation for these Halo games have been like really hand holding. It's been like a cinematic action sci-fi flick, but it still has that kind of like Halo feel to it, you know. And I know some people are going to disagree about that, but I feel like the overall aesthetics and ambience to the new games have been really good and just like beautiful. Another thing I want to talk about is the introduction of characters into the lore and expanding it in the games and the novels. So, Halo is like a fictional sci fi universe where you get to meet all these sorts of creatures, these human beings, these ancient forerunner beings, you know. And one of the things that makes Halo like really like in depth compared to like other games like Call of Duty or Warframe or Warhammer is just like how memorable and like really intrinsic these characters are. Be it like look at the Didact and his own like struggle of wanting to like wage war against the humans because he decides that he's like superior above everybody compared to his wife, the librarian who helped humanity reclaim the mental responsibility. And again, I'm not some sort of lore expert. I'm not really like too much into the Forerunner lore. Take that as you will, but I don't really care about that. I just care about the characters themselves, you know. And story driven wise, Halo 5, 4, and Infinite have really brought like a lot of characters that over time we grow to love, we appreciate, we look back and we're like, wow, those are really like cool people. But given like the story and context is, it's kind of like trivial. But depending on how you see it, I think the characters are like what makes Halo Halo. It's not about like the setting, you know. It's just more about like the character interactions and all that. And also the same thing with the novels. Since like 2001, when these writers went out their way to contact Bungie to write like the background of Halo, there's been like tremendous amounts of like books written on Halo, and there's just like so much. And the description of some of these is like really casual, but also like at the same time not really like hard to understand. It's not like 19th century literature, but the lore inside of them is what encapsulates and grasps the reader's hand. And that's what I love about these novels. I love how they're not only just for like casual reading for my hobby, but they're also a way to do your own research and like grasp like the context of what's happening during the events of like Halo 1 or Halo 2. And I think it's just really like awesome that Halo has expanded into like more the novel sort of way. And there's also comics too, which is like another thing if people aren't into the literature type and all that. Another thing I want to talk about is the innovation the game modes has brought. So let's look at each game from parts. So Halo 4, it brought Extraction, which is like this objective based game where you plant like a sort of like a beacon in the ground and you got to defend it. It also brought Dominion, which is like a forward operating base kind of like mini game mode where you like defend and you capture these bases, and it's pretty cool to be honest. I never thought about that until now when I was researching. I was just like, oh wow, remember that game mode? And then Halo 5 is where it was taken more of like a competitive slash like party game modes, you know, like Breakout, which is like a it's like a, I'm not sure how to describe it, like a one-on-one sort of competitor zone where you like eliminate the enemy team as fast as you can without dying. And then Warzone, which is like a really favorable third party game mode where it's like player against player versus enemy. So it's kind of like that MOBA sort of gameplay, but it's not really a MOBA. It's still more Halo. And then you got Warzone Firefight, which is its own thing. And then Halo Infinite try to bring more until like a party like casual social like socialized version of these game modes. So like attrition, it's practically like breakout, but it's just you can revive your teammates instead if they go down. And then last Spartan standing, which really to be fair, it's kind of like a BR, but it's not really. It's just sort of like climbing the ranks to outdo your components, and it's just like a really lot of fun. There were like moments where I actually like was pretty tense, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna make it to the top." You know, I gotta admit, these like game modes really keep the uh, keep the playlists like refreshing, and it's just not like the same old grass, you know, with like King of the Hill or Capture the Flag or anything about that. Um, Master Chief is still iconic, and there is no doubt that his armor and design over the years has been like phenomenal, like and more recognizable, like as awe-striking. Like if you look at like his Halo 1 counterpart, his Mark 5, and then you look at his Infinite, you can see how much time has progressed where as each game goes on each console, the fidelity and the graphics and the details get more and more intrinsic. And although people aren't favorable of like his Gen 2 Mark 6 armor, it's still kind of like pretty memorable because he still keeps that like recognizable like Mark 6 helmet, you know, that he's worn since like Halo 2. And to be honest, I think everybody has agreed that Halo Infinite's Chief's design is like a really good one-on-one part with this like original stakes and like the new like innovation refresh way of modern Halo, you know. And I also agree that people have said his Forerunner to Dawn really resembles his Mark IV days from like Halo Legends and the novels and everything. Another thing that Halo has grown since 2010 is like the merchandise. You can find a lot of merchandise and memorabilia online, specifically for like game consoles and accessories, clothing lines, brands, like gaming chairs. I think it's a really like cool way to, as a fan, to like go online and buy these things and then like brag to your friends in real life and show them how much of a dedicated fan you are. Like last Christmas, a I got like Halo socks. I got an ODST banner of the what was it, the 109th Division for me to hang up on my wall. I thought that was really cool. And I also got like a Halo backpack. It's just like those little things that really shows to the fans, like it shows them that they are fans of the series, and as much as people give money to like these stores, mainly because this is like a business and all, keep in mind, I think it's really cool that you can go online and you can buy like, oh, excuse me, you can buy anything like Halo related media. um Throughout the new trilogy of Halo, since Halo 4, there's been amazing voice actors in these games, and some of them you might even recognize. So we got like Jennifer Hill, Keith Zarabajka, who's the voice of the Didact, but he's also the voice of Joshua Graham from Fallout New Vegas's DLC Honest Hearts. You got Brian T. Delaney, Laura Bailey, Iki Amadi, Nathan Fillion. Like all these like really good voice actors and like actresses and like the motion capturing people. Like props to everybody who's involved in these projects and just like making the presentation, the audio like really good because these people have talent, and it's really admirable to like recognize them not only in like Halo but also like other video games, as like somebody like me who likes to research people about their background and see like what works, what projects they've done, and everything. It's just really cool. Um, MCC, I mean, this is pretty much the reason why Halo was so prevalent today, and thanks to 343 and the community and the modders for digging up these like dig sites and like making these cool mods, which I've done recently with like the mod showcasing. I think right now the modding for Halo has never been so like enjoyable and fun. Like when you think about it, like 10 years ago on the 360 era, if you asked somebody when they were playing Halo 3 that like in about 10 years you could be able to mod like the map Sandtrap and turn it into a firefight, they probably look at you and think you're a crazy person, to be honest. And it's just like really cool that people go out that way and they like put countless of hours to make like these wonderful mods and dig sites, and you get to be able to play like what was previously scrapped or planned in like the early Halo days, like the Halo 2 E3 2003 demo. Like people are still working on that, and I can't wait for the day where it's accessible to everybody and you get to play it and all. I think it's just really cool with the modding. Another thing is, since Reach, I guess, or actually since Halo 3 with the MLG days, the Championship Series has been going on last, and they're still doing. Shout out to my favorite team, Optic Gaming, Go Houston, Texas representation. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm not like a huge competitive person, but I think it's really cool that they still go on like these like ranked like competitive like esports sort of like scenes and tournaments, and it's just really fun to like gather around with your friends and watch your favorite team go head to head against the others. And I think it's just really like a immersive like Halo sphere, to see like these people like go out and just do like all the stuff, and it's just a really like it's really fun when you are going to these live events and you see like these people who are really skilled and put like hours into training their minds and their hand-eye coordinations and all that. It's just like even though I don't get it personally, like I think it's just pretty cool for it to be around. There's also fan service, and one thing I want to take away from this is recently Halo Infinite has been doing these shorts posted on like YouTube or Twitter in the style of Machinima. And Machinima is just one of those like phenomenons. You had to be there in the early to late 2000s on YouTube because that really was a way for people to gather around and create like these presentations and make them like more funny, like humorous, and just show like the wackiness of all games and over. And I think that's just like a really like admirable way to keep the spirit from going on. And this also correlates with Red versus Blue, and that's started since like 2003. Speaking of Red versus Blue, um, it's a miracle that it still has been going on. You can call it a miracle, you can call it a curse or a blessing. I don't know. Like people are really mixed on like later seasons of Red versus Blue because of the writing and Rooster Teeth. But honestly, in a retrospective, it's really cool to still see them like still going on in every like major Halo installment, like with Halo 4, Halo 5. And it wasn't until like sometime after Halo Infinite launched that they really had to wrap things up, and it's really unfortunate because Rooster Teeth just closed in March this year, and it's really sad to see like 20 years of like people's commitment and their life goals like gone, just fade away, and the last thing they can do is just finish off like loose ends and try to make the best of what they did with the memories. And people have been watching over the like years. If you've been like on the internet as like a person with YouTube, um, shout out to Rooster Teeth. Thank you for everything, for creating Red versus Blue, for like defining like the gaming culture around Halo and everything. Another thing I like to praise or like give my thoughts about is the soundtracks to these Halo games. Even though they're not as like quote unquote Halo classic traditional as people claim it. I mean, you gotta like to be honest, as a artistic introspective music really conveys a lot of emotions, and it conveys a lot of like immersion and captivating like moments whenever it's in Halo. So like Niall Dalvich, Kazuma Gino Inchi, and the composers of Halo Wars 2 and Halo Infinite really went out of their way to try to entertain the audience. And it's just like I'm a big sucker for like Halo 4 music. I think it's actually pretty cool, and I also like Halo 5's soundtrack as well. Halo Wars 2 is like phenomenal, and Halo Infinite went back to that like traditional, like classic, more refreshing feeling of old school Halo without like losing its identity. Like even if you like listen to the main soundtrack, it's still there, but it's like a sort of like a remix to it, if you know what I mean. But honestly, I'd say I encourage everyone to give it a try, give these like musics a try. I mean, you don't have to like them per se, but I think it's just really cool that the music in Halo is still pretty rad, especially in like the multiplayer section. Another thing I want to point out is just like it's really interesting to look at fellow Bungie employees and other outside people to give like receptions to like Halo entries, and this is just like a few I can pull out for Halo Infinite. As far as I can tell, Marcus Leto is the creator of Master Chief and his armor design, and in an interview, he said that he really admired Chief's character a lot in Halo 4, 5, and Infinite because it really humanized him. It really bring him like out from the novels and how like the way he's supposed to be as both a Spartan and a human, and it's just like really like interesting to look at his perspective because there are others who would disagree with him, like Marty O'Donnell, who believes that Master Chief is supposed to embody, or the player is supposed to embody Master Chief, but really, like, he's supposed to be like the silent protagonist with like Clint Eastwood style. I mean, take it as you will, but I think overall it's really like really depends on the angle and the perspective of how like the chief is characterized and how in each Halo game he is presented more. And it's pretty interesting too because Steve Downs has said in recent interviews that he actually loves voicing a chief. It's one of his like most passionate works. He said he loved doing it in Halo 4 and Halo Infinite, but not as much as Halo 5 because, you know, the writing story and all that. Another thing I want to bring up is the consistent communication between the devs and the community. You guys know that Brian Gerard and John Unishak are really trying their best. They're like staying on top of the game. They're not like Call of Duty developers who like ignorantly, blatantly like block out the feedback from people who have like been listening to the over the years. I mean, it's just these people at 343 Industries who really care about wanting to improve the games, you know, wanting to hear like what is said and done, like how can we improve the game and however. And it's because of Pierre Hines bringing a Halo MCC to the PC that like the whole reception with the pizza party is just like really funny because it was kind of sort of like a way to celebrate, and it was just very wholesome, you know, and it just shows that these devs are really keeping their promises. They're trying their best, even though like people constantly on the internet or on like Twitch or on YouTube like shout at them like at a brick wall, like feedbacks or whatever. I don't think that's the way to go. I think if you really want to give feedback, you must go on the Halo website and submit like a ticket or whatever, because that's just technically like the only best way to doing it. Or otherwise, you could just reach them out on Twitter. Though I'm not sure how that's going to go because we all know that Twitter is a really troublesome place. You know. Another thing I want to say is Halo is still the staple of the Xbox series, especially on consoles. I mean, it's still here, it's still going. Like every major Halo game launch, there's some kind of like theme to it. And it's just really cool to like see Master Chief still there and just how like like there is no other contender or IP in Microsoft that's going to usurp Master Chief or overtake him, and you're no longer be able to like identify with that. But I think it's pretty impressive that he's still going on forever, and call it and take that as you will. Like again, like I'm not trying to like convince everybody that like it's the greatest time to be a Halo fan, but I'm just saying like it's still like that really iconic with, as I said earlier before. There's also adaptations and trying to appeal to other forms of media, like as we are all infamously known from the Halo TV show, started in 2022 and ended in 2024 with season two. It most wasn't really like the best sort of adaptation. It certainly had its gripes, and it certainly had like a lot of falter in it, and like the fact that the Paramount writers never played the games shows you how really far like Hollywood has just puts its own pride and ego before presentation of whenever it comes to like video game adaptations. And I hope that this lesson with the TV show is brought to like other like platforms like Amazon, because Amazon, if you look at it, for example, is a really good contender for a Halo adaptation because they had the Fallout TV show, they had the Boys comic turned show, and it's just like a real indication that there's actually studios out there that are competent. Like if you find the right people, it's just only a matter of the green light for when Microsoft wants to give them to or the company itself. Another thing we have to look at over the like decade is the dissolvement of the old leadership. As many of you know, from like 2022 to 2023, several key figures of 343 have left the studios because of, well, what I could infer is community feedback and just like a lot of tension brewing in the Halo atmosphere, especially Bonnie Ross, who had to leave because of mental health, and then Frank O'Connor, who had to leave as well, and then also Kiki Wolfkill as well. But the thing is, not all hope is at lost because Pierre Heinz is the new manager, and there are several like leaks or rumors going around saying behind the scenes of what actually happened, like Joe Staten like getting fired. But really, that should be like really predictable because from what I know, contracts at Microsoft are kind of limited. They're not like permanent. It's just kind of like a temporary thing. Like, hey, you work with us for a certain amount of months, and we'll let you know when to go. You know, like no matter how much effort or time, excuse me, you put into. I don't think people should be mad at Pierre Heinz for what he did. I think he was just doing his job, and it really is a sort of like a hardship way of handling with management and how to like move forward and with the series. Whether you have to go backwards or forwards, make sequels, or do you go back and make prequels and all that. Another really noticeable thing is the Halo Wemba sandbox has greatly improved over from like Reach. Let's look at Halo 5 for example. Halo 5 has like the biggest weapon sandbox over for like every like weapon. There is like two or four variations of that, and it's just insane. Some of them are really fun, like especially bringing back like iconic weapons like the Halo 1 Magnum, the Halo 2 BR, and like these really cool weapons that you normally wouldn't be able to like play with or like from the traditional games that are brought into the series. Like they're like one of the most noticeable weapons I know is Normfang, which is the explosive anti-material rifle that Linda uses. It's kind of like a OP style weapon, and it's just really fun to use. Like honestly, like the Halo 5 sandbox really was just like a big experimentation, just like a way of seeing like how far can you push the limits of fun. It's just really like cool. So let me know your comments below. Like, what was your favorite Halo sandbox? So, um, same thing with Infinite. I don't think Infinite Halo sandbox was boring. It's just kind of limited because of its development, but still, the weapons are really fun to use, especially the banished weapons because they got like that rough, brutish edge to it with like the blades on the and the barrels and all that, and also the Forerunner weapons with the Sentinel beam, which is a sight to see to return in a Halo game because they haven't had the Sentinel beam since Halo 5. Forge. This is what I really want to emphasize about. It's really amazing to see how far Forge has gone to improvise in Halo since Halo 3 days when Forge was beginning. Like back then, it used to be so simple, and you could like maybe do some really neat, cool tricks here. But when now Forge and Halo 5 and Infinite, you're able to create like really ambitious and amazing, creative, fun game modes. It also certainly adds to the fact that what started out as like a player customization mode for creating whatever imagination you want. You can actually make full on game modes and create the game from inside the game, if that makes any sense. They're still adding Forge elements and assets to it, which is pretty amazing. And if you've been following the channel, there's going to be Forge updates on July 30th, which is going to even be like even more fun for like custom campaign levels and all that. But still, it's really impressive to see how Forge has gone since Halo 3, and it's like been really like amazing and like astounding that the Forge community has impacted the game even as far as to making it like official playlists on the matchmaking with like an example being the Night of the Undead game mode, which is basically the COD zombies from World of War, and it was just really fun to and exciting to like see like the possibilities of adding Forge maps to BTB game modes or play or like 5v5 maps and all that. It's just yeah, it's just really like amazing. The one thing I can admire wholeheartedly about the live service model for Halo Infinite is the battle passes never expire. They do not favor FOMO over any other game. So if you're like a newcomer or if you haven't played the game because everybody is busy with life and life gets in the way, you can come over and like buy these battle passes and you can catch up like easily without having to miss like exclusively timed things. And now because the exchange system brought over from Halo MCC, you can actually like save up a bunch of Spartan credits and like buy previously like earned items that you weren't able to get from like past like mini events that were like only there for like a couple of weeks. And also, it doesn't go over the fact that Halo Infinite's armor customization system has been like extremely like a big improvement upon Reach. Take that as well. I also think it really is like a huge improvement. Like there's like more a lot to do more than that, but there's like few drawbacks that we all know what's going on behind the scenes. But the thing I want to emphasize, there's like over 7 armor cores to equip, and it's really fun to see like how many combinations you can combine with these armor cores, and not to mention that cross core exists. So now we can wear any helmet on any armor core and also shoulder pads on any armor core, and hopefully like in the future or whatnot be able to like do from the waist down. And it's just a really fun like cool idea to customize your Spartan and like make him as individualistic as possible, or if you don't even want to just like go along with whoever you want. Again, like this is just like a more like iconic approach to a Halo game, and it's just like something other games don't follow with like customization, because player identity is a huge emphasis that they should always work on. And yes, even though they made a few fallbacks and deceptions, it still goes that today in 2024 you can actually wear like a Mark V helmet on top of the Rakshasa armor core with like SPI armor pads and all that. Halo Wars 2, this is what I actually want to talk about the most. I think it honestly is like one of, if not like one of my favorite RTS games besides the first one and StarCraft 2, because it honestly has that Halo soul to it. It's really fun. It also has just like that sort of like need for RTS games because the genre has been dead for like over a decade since StarCraft 2's release, but since then there have been like few and like other upcoming RTS games to release in the public domain. But honestly, I think Halo Wars 2 is just one of those games you like really should play if you're like into RTS and all that. And it's just like really fun because of how like innovative and how expansive and like improved overall it is from the first Halo Wars. Also, the cinematics and soundtrack is amazing. It's really stellar and beautiful and absolutely worth playing with a friend. Another game that I think tends to get overlooked a lot is Halo Fireteam Raven. And I just want to add on a note that this is like only like one of those like retroistic few like arcade games that you have to like go to like a Dave and Buster's and play. But honestly, I think it's really cool that they go out of their way to do like a spin-off of the main series and try to like make it like cooperative as fun as it is. Like honestly, that's what like Fireteam Raven is. It's just like a sort of like a canon to semi-canon way of just playing in the background of a Halo game, say like Halo CE, and it's just like really cool to see like you get to see like the background of what actually happens while the main game goes on. I also haven't played it myself, but I hope to one day, like whenever I get the chance, that I'll be able to finally try this game out because this is the only Halo game that I haven't played. But other than that, it's pretty cool that they brought the armor and the look of Halo Fireteam Raven onto MCC that you can customize for your Spartan. Another thing I want to talk about is just the updating and consistent live services, like long progression of since the days of MCC because of how it went from launching like broken, but also it always took like a few years until like 2019 to actually make it up to its highest peak, and it's just really like amazing and really cool to admire like that this game came out in 2014, and although it's been like quite a decade to be honest, it really is cool to see it thriving and still going on despite like the turmoils and all that, because like honestly this game is just like the livelihood of Halo, and it's just what keeps it going, along with Halo 5 and Infinite with their roadmaps and progressions. And it's just like, yes, even though they had like a few falters, they still really put the work and dedication time into making sure that the players and the community gets what they want, you know. And even though it's Halo 5's compared to Halo Infinite was really consistent with their live service. Like even they have like a huge roadmap, and they had like a lot of like customization, variants, assets, all and all that. While Halo Infinite was kind of struggling to find its ground, but they also managed to at least keep things a little freshing, especially with the Forge AI. I think that was like one of the most like impressive things that you could actually do now in Halo is you can go into Forge and you can set up like your own custom scenarios and place Forge AI units here or there, and also Firefly as well. That's pretty cool to see back. Halo 2 Anniversary. This is what I really want to address. I think this is really like one of the best things that's happened since Halo 2 itself. I mean, this is a game I played a lot as a kid. It really was a phenomenal, like, sort of game to put a lot of time into back then when you didn't have an Xbox Live and all that. And it was just like really one of those like motivated games at the time, just playing growing up, like one of my favorites, and it's just like something I really admire a lot. And then for it to have like an anniversary in 2014 was like absolutely phenomenal. Like I love the cutscenes, I love the visuals, the presentation, the like the soundtrack. It's really cool to see like something you played like 10 years ago being updated and like glorified in this like high exalting manner. And although people have some disdaining like views on how it is from the original, I argue that it is still the gold, and it's still like one of the greatest things I've ever seen in a video game. One of the most relatable and intimate things with Halo for a lot of people is getting to meet the voice actors and just going to these panels, and it's just really wholesome and awesome to see them like interacting with the audience, especially Steve Downes and Jen Taylor. And it's just really cool that or millions of people go across the stage just to meet these people, and it's just really like really wholesome and really happy to see people's days bright up with these like phenomenal voice actors, because that's the thing with the media and art is it really evokes a lot of emotion, and it's just really like a like sentimental thing that people usually take to heart. And it's honestly like really cool and really admirable that they still do these meet and greets like every year at these like conventions, and it's just really awesome. I hope to see them like continue brightening everybody's days up in like our times of turmoil and like division and tension amongst everybody in the community. You gotta also admit, because of Halo really popular now, it's also quite perplexing and cool to see it like collab in other video games like Among Us, Sea of Thieves, Fall Guys, Rainbow Six Siege even, and Brawlhalla. And it's just really cool that even though like there hasn't been a lot of games made since like between the span of 2010 and 2020, it's really cool to like see its impact on gaming culture as a whole and like in other video games, and just to like how much of a legacy it has left behind. And for example, one of that is Destiny 2. Because Bungie used to work on Halo for their 30th anniversary pack, they did a memorial or commemoration to Halo, and it was just like, like with the ornaments for your guardian, you can make them look like Master Chief or the Arbiter or like Marathon. It's just really cool to still see like Halo like being like as Easter eggs or like little nods and bits here in other video games as well. That's just what really impresses me as a person. Another thing I want to highly analyze about is like the avoidance of major video game trends that Halo has throughout the years, not willing to sacrifice its integrity or its like player base value, and that's for in the terms of like battle royale or hero shooters or extractions, because a lot of games these days tend to follow this sort of trend where they follow the carrot on the stick, hoping that they would make a lot of bucks, but either they like fail or it's not as like impressive as they thought they would be. Um, and Halo like willing to not do any of these major gaming trends is both a blessing and like somehow like a miracle by like sheer luck. And maybe that's just because of 343 not willing to risk it all or take, or just Microsoft's way of handling on how Halo should be. And it's really cool to see how Halo still its own identity, and just like comparing it to other games like Call of Duty, which went from like a serious like tactical shooter to more like a comical like Joker parody of itself. Because in COD now you get like people like Snoop Dogg or Nicki Minaj who are like somehow in the game, and it just like really ruins the immersion. You kind of like wonder like why are they there in the first place. But a Halo, it's really honestly like amazing that they don't see like it risking itself just to like follow these major trends. Um, and then one last thing to note is the monetization, and this is the part that really riles people up. And honestly, as much as people can use their wallets as much as they want, I'm gonna encourage that you don't have to spend on anything really, and it's not like a forced thing you have to do. It's not like a bandwagon or FOMO. Honestly, the way like video game industry has been for the past few years, it's always been about like making money and just profiting. And how else are you gonna think that new games are gonna be made? They're gonna be funded by the microtransactions from these games that sell them for like these customers. And it's just like really a trivial thing, because you either get left behind and you don't make a profit, or you have to at least go out your way to make a profit somehow, but also try to keep the line between being too greedy and too lenient. Because honestly, the circumstance with Halo Infinite is it's a free to play game, and the thing that most people have to be aware about is whenever a game goes free to play, you can expect that there's going to be microtransactions in it. And that's the thing that really plagues the gaming industry, is just these predatory practices and how they go after your money, and how whether it values your time or your effort. But I don't think it's as bad as Destiny 2 per se, where Destiny 2 really like sunsets equipment, weapons, expansions, heck, even the base game itself, over like saving memories of gigabytes and just wanting to pave the way for like new other modes or gaming practices or whatever. And it's just really like, and that's just partly like one of the reasons why I stopped playing Destiny 2. Is I think it you need, in order to play it, you need to like buy everything, and that's just something that's not really incentive, is like going just say playing the game regularly and just like earning your progress. But anyways, this whole another can of worms. So I don't think it really is bad as people say. Honestly, again, it's your money, spend it as you want. I don't think you should really spend as much, but if you want to spend what you spend, then go ahead and spend. And I want to compare the amount of people have played in past Halo games to the modern Halo games is today. And I don't have like specific charts or anything, and I'm not going to use the Steam player base chart because I don't think that's really honest and genuine to use it, because honestly, Halo is primarily played on the Xbox and the PC at the same time. But just take a look at this graph. So in Halo 2, in the following years from like 2004 to 5, you can see that there was a lot of people playing Halo 2 back then, but that was only during a period of gaming culture where it was kind of like a niche dork thing for you to play video games like Halo 2. But now, because Halo is so wide and popular with like the launch of Halo Infinite, it says 20 million people have played, and that's really admirable. To have 20 million people play at like at the launch of the next installment really says a lot about how far its influence has spread and really grasped people into trying the game. And it's really cool to see more and more every day. New people are getting into Halo. New people are getting Halo. They're trying it out. They're loving it. They're falling in love with the old games, the new games. Honestly, it doesn't matter where you even begin. Like, you can begin with Halo Reach for all I know and still love it, but you can start with Halo 4 or 5 Infinite. Though I recommend you play them chronologically by release date just to get like a gist of how they were back then. But honestly, there was no shame in playing Halo 4 or 5 in Infinite, really, compared to 1, 2, and 3, because eventually, at the end of the day, it's still Halo. Like, there is no competition, there is no rush. People play at their own pace, and it's pretty, like, chill and casual, to be honest. It's not a thing where you gotta, like, read 40 novels just to get the gist of anything. And I only say that because of Warhammer, because Warhammer is just one of those franchises where you have to like deep into the lore and do your own research to understand. Another thing I like to, and this is the second to last thing I want to mention, is just the community as whole. And when I mean by community, I mean the real life community and the people who actually love Halo, the people who really generally love the game as whole. That they make new friends, they meet loved ones, they like hang out together at like LAN parties and stuff. I think that's just one of the things gaming does to people, is it brings them together, and it really lets people know that, hey, we're all in this together. We're here to escape from the harshness of the world. Let's just hang out and have some fun. And honestly, that's something I want to emphasize, is when you're playing Halo, just have fun. Just relax and enjoy yourself. Like, don't worry about peer pressure or anything. Like, don't let some YouTuber tell you not to play this game or that game, or because it's just objectively like it was bad or anything. That really depends up to you. Humans have free will, and our free will is to do whatever we want. But it's also a natural phenomenon where we get to meet others and we get to share, talk about like our same hobbies and interests. And honestly, I think it's really wholesome and happy to see everybody brought together in times of turmoil and hardships, say like 2020 pandemic and all the thing. And honestly, that's why I wholeheartedly want to spread in this video. I want to keep making videos like this. I want to keep making content for everybody to be as uplifting and positive. I don't want to go out of my way just to be rude or petty towards people because for the sake of it. And I'm just like tired of doing that, to be honest. I just honestly want people to enjoy Halo and not be stigmatized by saying its name or anything. And I honestly think that it's okay if you start with like the newest game or the oldest game, and it's honestly like up to your own journey. Like, honestly, that's the whole thing about playing video games, is there is no right or wrong path. There's just the path of fun and enjoyment, you know. Overall, the conclusion, whether you like it, with I say, or dislike some things, but you don't wholeheartedly hate me by some way. I honestly don't care if I'm actually hated by the online community on YouTube, because honestly, I think they're just a bunch of trolls. They're a bunch of haters. and there really is no reason to get mad or upset, excuse me, at things like this, because at the end of the day, it's still Halo, to be honest, and it's gonna be around here for several years. Even if Microsoft pulls the plug, like, people are still gonna remember Halo by like memory. It's just one of those like gaming historical moments that people in the 21st century are gonna fondly look back and look at the days of when Xbox Live was the thing, or when people were having so much fun and they didn't have to worry about like division and politics or anything. It's just really cool. So overall, at the end of this video, I want to hear your guys' feedback and what your thoughts are. If they could be positive or negative, I don't care, to be honest. Um, I only emphasize that I make this video once only and then just get it done with, over with. I won't have to make another video like this ever again, because honestly, I really care about Halo. I love it to death. I want to really share the positive sentiments with everybody as much as I can without having to feel like I'm a jerk to anybody. And honestly, I think the takeaway here is it really isn't ruined by video gaming companies or management or anything. It's ruined by how you perceive the way things are in life and how living they are up to your standards. Because objectively, yes, it is really in a rough shape, but however, you have to think about it from the other point of view, that why would you ever hate a game in the first place? Why would you ever feel this whole negative feeling inside of you that eats you up every day? I mean, it isn't something to be proudful for, and it's just really perplexing, and it's just really arbitrary to hate a gaming franchise just because somebody on YouTube said it and you have to join along with everybody. Like, you don't have to feel like that. You can honestly stand your own ground. If you don't want to join, don't join. If you don't want to say it, don't say it. Um, if you are gonna quit over, that's okay, because that may just means one person, one less person to worry about. Honestly, I think overall in this video, I don't think Halo is ruined at all. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good. I think it's just grown to some extent where it now has to be summarized and made by a comprehensive look on how things are in the video game industry. And honestly, I wish for the best of Microsoft and 343 that they continue working together passionately and bring back like the good old resentment days, and try to make things as like happy and fun for everybody, and not like fall apart like the way Sony is doing with their games, or Nintendo towards their customers in an anti-consumer way. Because honestly, I think we're all in it for, and the only thing that bonds us together is Halo. If you like this video, give it a like, comment on it, subscribe to the channel, share it around with others. Whatever you do what you want, I don't care. Yeah, this has just been my thoughts on how Halo has grown since 2010, and this has been Woodscump, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.